Hello everyone, a warm welcome to all of you. I'm BG Suresh, teacher of Silver Hills Public School, Kozhikode. And in this session, I'm going to deal with the biology topic of Class 10 CBSE, Life Processes, Chapter 6. This is the second part where I'm dealing with respiration. So what are the learning objectives for today? We can learn new terms related to respiration. We can compare respiration happening in yeast, plants and human beings. We will also be identifying parts of the human respiratory system. So let's start off. The term life processes, they refer to processes like digestion, respiration, circulation, excretion, etc. that make life possible. So in this session, I am going to deal with the second one, respiration. Whereas in part 1, I had dealt with nutrition. So we will first see how respiration occurs in plants. How do plants breathe? Plants breathe through their leaves. To be exact, the tiny openings on leaves, which are called stomata. So on the leaves, on their ventral sides, on their bottom sides, there are a number of tiny microscopic openings, the stomata. They look like this. They could either be closed or open. And these two main cells surrounding that aperture, you can see the aperture is open over there. So the two cells surrounding it are called the guard cells. So when does it close? It closes when the two guard cells have lost water. So they have become flaccid. At that time, the aperture closes. But if the guard cells are turgid, if they have got enough water, then they expand. Okay, they are in that turgid shape. At that time, you can see the pore. The pore will open. And it is through this opening that the plant breathes. Just like us, during respiration, the plants take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. But in the previous session, you learned that the opposite happens during the time of photosynthesis. Then plants give out oxygen and take up carbon dioxide. So if we view the stomata under a microscope, you take a leaf peel, stain it, and if you view it under the microscope, it will appear like this in dicots, and in monocots it will appear like that. So how do we understand them? How do we distinguish between them? Observe the guard cells closely. Focus the microscope, the high power, and observe the two cells around that pore. So in this first case, you find they are kidney shaped or bean shaped, showing that it is a dicot leaf. But over there you can see they are long and dumbbell shaped. If that is so, then it's a monocot leaf. That's how you identify them, by viewing under a microscope. And this is the figure of a stomatal apparatus. There will be many like this on the ventral surface of the leaf. The pore, the stomatal pore, guarded by the two guard cells, and outside them there will be the subsidiary cells and the epidermal cells. So photosynthesis, in the previous session we learned it is an anabolic process. It is a build-up process where carbon dioxide and water are fixed to form sugar, and the byproducts are water and oxygen. But comparing to this, respiration we can say is a catabolic process. Anabolism means build-up. That is, from simple materials, you are building up bigger things. The opposite is called catabolism. big materials are broken down into smaller ones. So, a big material like glucose, C6H12O6, glucose, that is broken down to release ATP. ATP, you know, is adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency of the cell. So, whether it's a plant or a human being or any other animal, we all need ATP, energy. So, it's an energy currency. Even to close your eyelid, you require ATP. Then imagine how much ATP you will need when you're singing, dancing, studying, exercising, etc. So, all that energy we are deriving through the process of respiration. So, in plants, respiration happens through the stomata, those pores on the ventral side of the leaf. So, I told you during the time of photosynthesis, the leaf will be taking up carbon dioxide because it wants to convert that carbon dioxide into sugar. But just the reverse happens during respiration. Then the stomata, those openings called the stomata, will be taking up oxygen. So, over there you can see an enlarged view of one single stoma. Singular is stoma, plural is stomata. Here the stoma is closed and in the next picture you find it is open. And if you observe the guard cells, you will find that the inner walls are thicker compared to their outer walls. The outer walls are thinner and the inner walls are thicker. Now let us see about glucose metabolism. How is glucose broken down? It can happen in two pathways, aerobic pathway or anaerobic pathway. Aerobic means the respiration happening in the presence of molecular oxygen. But if no molecular oxygen is used to break down glucose, then that pathway is called anaerobic. So, whichever it is, whether it is aerobic, which uses molecular oxygen, or anaerobic, which doesn't use molecular oxygen, the initial step happens in the cytoplasm, where glucose is broken down into pyruvate. Glucose, I told you this is a catabolic process, breakdown process. So, the 6-carbon compound called glucose will be broken down into 2 3-carbon compounds called pyruvate. And then 3 things can happen to the pyruvate. We are going to discuss them. Either it is completely broken down aerobically, or anaerobic respiration can happen, or fermentation can happen. So, let us see further what is happening to the pyruvate. The first case is in the absence of oxygen in unicellular organisms like yeast. What will happen? Something called fermentation will happen, where the pyruvate, the 3-carbon compound called pyruvate, will form ethanol, carbon dioxide and ATP. So, how did this happen? Your mother had put just a pinch of yeast into the dough, and by the next day the dough started fermenting. So, how did this happen? It happened due to budding in yeast. A single yeast cell, you see its nucleus started dividing, then its cytoplasm started dividing, it became 2, and then it started dividing further and became a chain of yeast cells. So, they are keeping on multiplying, and during that process they are also respiring. The yeast cells are also doing respiration, and during respiration they are liberating carbon dioxide, which is trying to escape through the dough. So that is why the dough becomes fermented. I'm sure you have seen this at home when your mother is making idli or appam. Then the rice mixture, that is rice, coconut, sugar, all these ground together, and a pinch of yeast when it is added, it will ferment like this. Sometimes it may even come out of the vessel if you are not careful. By next day it would be scattered all over. So that was fermentation. The second case is anaerobic respiration, which happens in the muscles, maybe even your muscle, because of lack of oxygen. Maybe a student was running a long distance race, and after some time he started feeling tired. He was breathless. Still he tried to continue running, and then later on, suddenly, all of a sudden, he is just falling off because there is severe catch on his muscles and he feels a severe pain. That is called muscle cramp. So what happened there? The answer is this: muscles had undertaken anaerobic respiration. They were made to overwork. So they had to breathe in the absence of oxygen. So what happened to our 3-carbon compound called pyruvate? It got broken down to form lactic acid and ATP. And this lactic acid is responsible for causing muscle cramps in athletes. Now, the third thing which can happen is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. Respiration happening in the presence of molecular oxygen. It generally happens in that organelle called the mitochondrion. Plural is mitochondria. Okay. Respiration in man is also aerobic. So what is happening during aerobic respiration? The 3-carbon compound called pyruvate is completely broken down into the 1-carbon compound, that is carbon dioxide. Water is also produced and large amounts of energy liberated. So maximum amount of ATP will be produced by aerobic respiration. The reason being pyruvate, glucose and pyruvate is completely broken down. So let's see the details of aerobic respiration in man. It happens in the cells, in the powerhouse of the cell, which is an organelle called mitochondrion. It is a sausage shaped structure which lies in the cytoplasm. You have studied that it is a semi-autonomous organelle, means it has its own genes. It is semi-independent from the cell, and its outer membrane is smooth. The inner membrane has infoldings on which there are tiny F1 particles. That is where energy is created, ATP is created. So we can classify respiration into 2 types: external and internal respiration. What you and I are just doing, breathing in and breathing out, inspiring and expiring, that is external respiration, taking in of oxygen from the environment. So we are taking in air, oxygen rich air from the atmosphere. A fish will be taking it from water. So that mere physical process is called external respiration. The other one is internal respiration or cellular respiration, which is taking place in each and every cell of your body, where glucose is broken down with the help of oxygen that we breathed in to liberate energy. So that is internal or cellular respiration. This is a figure of the human respiratory system. We breathe in through our nostrils. The air goes into the nasal chamber, reaches the common opening called the pharynx, moves down through the trachea or the windpipe, which divides into two bronchi. They enter the lungs. You can't see it further, but if you take a section of the lungs, you will find the two bronchi are dividing further into bronchioles, which end in air sacs. So these are the parts: nostrils, nasal chamber, pharynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and finally ending in the alveoli or the air sacs. The air that we breathe out contains carbon dioxide. We can prove that by this simple experiment where we take some lime water in a test tube, and then using a straw, when we blow into it, the lime water turned milky, showing that the expired air is rich in carbon dioxide. So this is the position of our lungs in the human body. You can see it is situated in the chest cavity, which is called the thoracic cavity, and below it there is the diaphragm. So there are a pair of lungs. The lungs are covered by a membrane called pleura, and between the lungs there will be the human heart, and protecting the heart and the lungs there is the rib cage. Now a question: why doesn't our trachea collapse when we bend our neck? See, when we bend down, why doesn't it collapse? You would have experienced this while you are watering the garden with a hose. When you are pulling the hose, and if the hose gets bent upon itself, then no water will come out from the hose. Similarly, will something happen to your trachea when you bend your neck? The answer is no, because there are rings of cartilage which will prevent the trachea from collapsing. So these are the rings of cartilage. If you touch over here, you can feel the rings of cartilage, and above that there is the vocal cord. Try making a small sound and touching over here. Do you feel something vibrating? That is the larynx, your vocal cords. Okay, so trachea divides into two bronchi, which divides into bronchioles, and they end in air sacs. So the air sacs are called alveoli. They are richly vascularized for the purpose of gas exchange by a process called diffusion. So they look like this. The trachea divided into bronchi. They became even smaller bronchioles in your lungs, and each bronchiole is ending in several air sacs or alveoli. Look at those red and blue lines. They show the very minute blood capillaries. So it is here that gas exchange happens. What will happen? Carbon dioxide from the blood in these capillaries will diffuse into the alveoli. Okay, the carbon dioxide went into the alveoli, and from the air that we breathed in, oxygen will now enter into the blood capillaries. So diffusion has happened, gas exchange has happened. Now the alveoli are filled with carbon dioxide rich air, which we can breathe out. So that's how respiration happens. And I told you the oxygen has got into blood. It is picked up by the RBCs, a pigment in the RBCs which is called hemoglobin. The red pigment in blood called hemoglobin. Hem means iron and globin is a protein. So that pigment, hemoglobin. And if it is less in your body, you will suffer from a disease called anemia. So that's the reason why you must have food which is rich in iron. So through blood, it will be transported to each and every cell in your body where cellular respiration can happen, where the blood is also bringing, along with oxygen, it will also be bringing into the cells glucose, and glucose can be broken down by oxygen, first into pyruvate, then it goes into the mitochondria and completely it is broken down, and that is why carbon dioxide is produced. Now if it is fish and such other aquatic organisms, they do not have lungs, instead they have the gills, and gills are capable of taking up only dissolved oxygen in water. If you take a fish and just open its operculum, you can see like that red colored fan like structure. Those are the gills. And if it is a fresh fish, it will be bright red in color, whereas an old fish which is preserved in formalin and all, it will have yellow or light brown ones. So the fishes, they breathe at a very fast rate. Why? You can see your aquarium fishes and all keeping on closing and opening their mouths. Why? This is because dissolved oxygen is very less in water. So they have to try and take up maximum water, spread it over the gills. So let's summarize. What did we learn today? We learnt about respiration. We saw plants respire by using their stomata. In animals, it could be either aerobic or sometimes anaerobic respiration. In tiny organisms like yeast, fermentation happens to produce alcohol, ethanol. If our muscles are made to overwork, then we find that they will undertake anaerobic respiration and form lactic acid. This can also form muscle cramps, and in our case we generally do aerobic respiration. So we take in air into our lungs, and in the alveoli there is diffusion where the oxygen that we breathe in gets into the hemoglobin of blood, and once it reaches the cells, along with oxygen, glucose also will reach each and every cell of your body where cellular respiration will happen, and glucose is completely broken down to liberate large amounts of energy. And during this process, carbon dioxide is produced, which we expire, which we breathe out. I hope all of you have understood. Thank you very much.